You're listening to Innovators, the podcast from Harris Search Associates, where we speak with global leaders in education, research, engineering, and the health sciences, and ask them to share lessons learned as they continue to advance the frontiers of innovation and discovery. Today's podcast will be led by Rick Skinner, Senior Consultant.
Today we're speaking with Dr. Stephen Lanier, Vice President of Research and Professor of Pharmacology at Wayne State University. Previously, Dr. Lanier was Assistant Professor of Medicine at Harvard, Chair of the Department of Pharmacology at Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center in New Orleans, and Chief Scientific Officer, Associate Provost for Research and Professor of Pharmacology at the Medical University of South Carolina. Welcome to Innovators, Dr. Lanier.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to go right into our questions because it's a big topic that we want to explore. Steve, you've been an active researcher throughout your career. How has the research enterprise changed since you began, especially during those times when you were responsible for research at an institutional level?
I think the biggest change that I've seen is an increasing emphasis on metrics. And what that does is, we've been able to collect data at a much more robust mechanism than we had in the past. And so we're able to build metrics around performance and expectations that drive institutions, departments, and individual investigators. And I think that one of the biggest changes for me that I've seen is the increased emphasis on metrics versus having time for individuals to develop their own career, having time for individuals to give deep thought to any sort of field, because only when one is able to give uninterrupted concentration on a field will you see those original observations come up. And I think as organizations, even at the level of chair and institutional official, that it's very dangerous to fall into that trap of being over-metricized. Because as you know, and as many of us know, and we look back on our career, having that time to be in a nurturing environment where people can develop ideas and they're excited about it. And leadership recognizes what it takes to develop an idea around quality science. I even, in that context, one of my most important responsibilities, I think, as an institutional leader is to nurture an environment where allows those ideas to develop over time. And it even goes back to one of the hallmarks of this philosophy back with Max Perutz around the Cambridge laboratories of molecular biology back in the 60s. I'm not that old, but I'm not that old, so it was before my time, but it was brought to attention of my attention by Dr. Lee Limburn, a longstanding colleague of mine who was many years at Vanderbilt University. And Max, really what it was all about for him was setting an environment where the often disparate abilities of people from all walks of life could contribute to do something special. And nurturing that environment, sustaining that environment, I think is a real key to those original observations. And often in this push for metrics and performance-based evaluations, we lose track of that. So that's one of the biggest changes for me as I wrap my arms around that question.
Someone once described the job of a vice president for research at a research institution as pushing rubber bands. What skills does the post call on that are maybe different from those of other executive positions such as provost and the like?
Well, it's an interesting question. And I'm not sure that I would buy into the first part of that in terms of pushing around rubber bands, because I've been fortunate enough to come to a position at Wayne State University where the opportunity is really unprecedented in terms of opportunities I've seen over my career. And in that context, the university is really partnering with the city and pivoting hand in hand with the city, Detroit being one of the great cities in the world, great city of innovation, great city of resilience, great city for contributions to society in many aspects of life. And then you have this big university right in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. So as I looked at this, I didn't see myself, pushing paper, pens, rubber bands. And really what we tried to do is set a culture where nurturing programmatic synergy across different colleges. And so it's not so much an issue of having a silo in medicine or a silo in pharmacy or a silo in nursing or a silo in engineering. What we've tried to do is to really put in place programmatic platforms that cut across different colleges and address thematic challenges that were of relevance to urban areas like the city of Detroit, whether it's access to healthcare, whether it's tying in with the automobile industry around engineering, mm-hmm. whether it's tying in with issues around water access, post-industrial pollution, environmental stresses. And you can only tackle these real-world problems by bringing in expertise from across different departments and colleges. And what's been amazing to me as I've rolled into this position is the willingness of the different colleges and departments to step up and face this challenge. And so in that context, it's really, I don't know if I would call it pushing rubber bands, but when you think about this bigger picture and how urban serving universities can partner with cities to address real world issues, that's an exciting environment to be in.
Stephen, I want to follow up a little on that. And you're suggesting that far from being wedded to their disciplines, you're finding faculty researchers who actually welcome this sort of cross-disciplinary?
Yes, and actually we're recruiting a lot in this space. Mm-hmm. We had an ad, actually, as part of this initiative, we opened up a new research facility which we branded as the Integrative Biosciences Center, mm-hmm. or iBio. Mm-hmm. And it was really based on thematic initiatives of relevance to city of Detroit and other urban areas, and touches upon metabolic diseases, mm-hmm. bioengineering, behavioral health, environmental sciences. There's also a clinical research facility in the building, which is anchored with the community. Excellent. And so what is surprising that each of these different themes bring people in from School of Social Work, School of Law, pharmacy, medicine. The dream, if you will, is that each of these different focus areas have a discovery-driven component, a translational component, a community engagement component, and an implementation sciences component. And so you would draw people from different colleges and schools, as I mentioned earlier. And as we teed this up, we had an ad come out announcing the plans to recruit 24 to 30 faculty over the next 3 or 4 years in this broad brushstroke. And I am really impressed with the pool of applicants that have been coming in. And as I bring people in and they talk, and they see, I sort of lay this out and tee this up, which I've been doing here, their eyes light up. They get excited about it. This ability to not be siloed in any one given discipline, but the ability to have a lot of different touch points that opens up additional doors, mm-hmm. for career development and unexpected contributions really resonates in a surprising way.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's so many things going on here, I can hardly keep up with them. Every day's an adventure in Detroit.
Well, let's change our focus a little bit. You're one of 3 of Michigan's public institutions that are generally considered to be very successful research universities. What does Wayne State do to differentiate itself from its in-state peers?
Well, we do have, as you mentioned, Michigan State University, University of Michigan, and Wayne State University as the 3 major research universities, mm-hmm. in the state of Michigan. And as was the case when I was in South Carolina, we have significant interaction among the 3 research universities. In South Carolina, it was the Medical University of South Carolina, Clemson, mm-hmm. and the University of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And actually ended up doing joint recruiting, joint programmatic development. The state was aligned, et cetera. In Michigan, we have, again, 3 major research universities. They all have a little bit different culture. And they all have, in many ways, complementary strengths. Michigan State University is a land-grant university. University of Michigan is one of the top, if not the top, consistently at the top of public research funded research universities, around $1 billion, so a huge operation there. Wayne State University is actually the only one of those three that is an urban serving university. Mm-hmm. So it really has its own mission in the city. I don't know if you've been to Detroit or when you were there recently, but you know that the university is right in the middle of the city. Mm-hmm. Its faculty are right in the middle of the city.
Absolutely.
And it serves many people, many students that are from the city. As I actually live right downtown Detroit, and I have a lot of different touch points around the city, and it's amazing to me how many people are Wayne State alumni. And so you have a different mission as an urban serving university as opposed to University of Michigan, which is a top tier research university, and Michigan State University, which is also a great research university, land-grant university. But Wayne State, even though smaller of the three, has its own unique mission in the city of Detroit. And I think that attracts its own type of investigators and fellows and students that really want to engage with that mission.
One more question, Steve, on that, sort of following up on that point. In your career, the federal government has played a central role in supporting research. How do you see the prospects for federal support of research over the next 10 years, let's say?
Well, I'm positive. As you can probably tell from the nature of my conversation, I'm an optimist. So but I am positive. You know, I've seen federal funding for research go up and down over the years. I've seen it come in different flavors. When I was first starting out my career, it took a downturn, so it was a little bit lean years there, and then it came back up. Then I witnessed the doubling of the budget, NIH support budget, and then the flattening and its own challenges around that. But I'm positive about the future. I think that contributions that come out of the federal dollars that are committed for research touch so many of us. Of course, the obvious thing that they touch is in healthcare benefits, advances in diagnosis and treatment that not only resonate in this country, but have global impact on the delivery of care. But I think it goes beyond just what we see as the immediate output. You know, I think, and you've probably seen this, but over the last 10 years or so, as the federal budget has had increasing pressure around funding for research, other countries around the world have stepped up. Exactly. And they have stepped up again and again. And what I've noticed in my field, I started to see these really top tier publications coming out of countries that, not the United States, Asian countries that had been investing in research and technology development, intellectual infrastructure, physical infrastructure, technical infrastructure. Over a period of years, we're beginning to see the benefits of that sustained investment. And what you're seeing is that many of the seminal papers were coming out from countries around the world, not the United States. And so there's two things that come up there. One is that then our contribution as a leading country in this field, actually, you know, you go back to after World War II, when heavily investment in research funding from universities really solidified the country and its global leadership in that space. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that we're sort of at a similar precipice, if you will, because it becomes a matter of national security. Exactly. And so that if we aren't investing in our infrastructure to generate these original ideas, we're going to be following somebody else. So it becomes an issue of national security and where we want to be as a country. And the other part is that as a society, because many people may not realize this, but in addition to what you see in real world deliverables around diagnostics and therapies and et cetera, as a result of this environment and culture of research, discovery, nothing limiting anybody. The country served for many years to be a mecca for the best and brightest in the world. Now that's become a bit more challenging. And other countries around the world, just as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the way they're investing in their infrastructure and seeing the benefit of it, the best and the brightest in the world are saying, well, maybe I don't necessarily want to come to the United States. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's another path. And these best and brightest that we tend to attract to this country over many years, they may not make the next big scientific discovery, but invariably they're driven people, and they will succeed and contribute and enrich our society in ways that we can never really imagine. And so I'm positive about the future in terms of funding. And I think that as more and more people realize these last couple of points I made, that the momentum will even continue to pick up in that regard.
Steve, we have so much more we could talk about today, but I know your time is short. So I want to thank you very much for chatting with us this afternoon. I'll be up to Detroit sometime soon to visit with you, and you're doing some extraordinary things. So thanks very much.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Look forward to welcoming you to the Big D.
There you go.
Thank you for listening to Innovators, a production of Harris Search Associates. We'll have more insightful conversations with global thought leaders to follow.